Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Ross Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope I find you well. Hope you enjoyed the recent episode that came your way. That was the last minute goals episode. That's the one where I took a look at some of those last minute goals England have scored and conceded over the years. It is still available at your podcast provider of choice or threelionspodcast.com. Plenty has happened since then, so this episode is taking a look at, in the main, the 2026 World Cup qualifiers and how it affects us. I'll come to that in a moment, but first I just wanted to say thank you for all your support over the past year. It's been amazing. I've decided to make this the last of 2024 because what with general life, work, run up to Christmas, I'm going to struggle to find the time to put any more out. So I'll briefly touch on the year at the end of this episode. Don't forget you can follow the show on social media, all the usual places. Just search Three Lions Podcast. And if you've missed an episode, they're all there for you to tune into, should you want a little distraction from the festivities. I'll be honest, I was planning on doing an episode looking at how the draw worked. I studied it for a while, found a FIFA explainer. Yeah, there's one of those online. Thought I had it. Then there was the introduction of the Nations League teams, and that began to confuse me. I put it down, then I got hit by the flu, which knocked me sideways for the best part of a week, and if I'm honest, I'm still not entirely recovered, as you may well hear. So I thought, rather than put something out and it highlighting that I hadn't understood it at all, I've waited till after the draw, where of course I'll tell you that I had it all understood right from the outset. But for ourselves, the Nations League is over, and for a while we didn't know who our next fixture would be against. There were no opponents in the diary. That was until now. The World Cup draw has been made. Exciting stuff. I, like many of you, love a draw, be it for the FA Cup third round, the Euros, or the World Cup. Maybe not so much that World Club Cup draw. They made a right mountain out of a molehill out of that one, didn't they? And then a couple of days before the draw, not so much a draw this one, but Gianni Infantino made it all about himself once again, telling us what we already knew. This time officially that the 2030 World Cup will be hosted by Spain, Portugal and Morocco, helped along the way by Argentina, Paraguay and Uruguay. That's just for the centenary token aspect. And then they moved on to the big reveal, the big surprise, that Saudi Arabia would host the 2034 finals. I'm sure you'll remember all the stories around Qatar and its human rights records from a couple of years back, the LGBT side of things as well. Basically, get ready for all of that again. It's going to be like Groundhog Day. I don't know what the actual legacy in Qatar is from the World Cup a couple of years ago, but from the outside it doesn't seem much. No one really gives a hoot for the Qatari League, and when you see footage of it, it seems very few in Qatar do either. Then you can say pretty much the same about the Saudi Pro League. Doesn't matter who the players are over there, we all know why they're going there. FIFA have basically once again given a country with no football history the biggest tournament in the world. The World Cup used to be the pinnacle for me, especially as a child. Hindsight, it's probably very rose-tinted, but Italia 90, USA 94, France 98, the dual hosted one between Japan and Korea in 2002. just seems so obviously tainted now, but it's just not the same. Let's move on before I crumple into a heap of my own nostalgic tears. Next thing you know, I'll be wishing for Sepp Blatter back. So it was Friday the 13th of December. The World Cup draw for the UEFA Confederation was made. Drawn from FIFA's headquarters in Zurich. To my surprise, there were no singing, no dancing, no visual effects. Maybe we'll have to wait for the final draw for that. It's crazy to think that the biggest confederation, UEFA, is the last one to get started. I'll touch on all those other confederations and where they are currently towards the end of this episode, but the aim of this one is to basically have a look at who we've drawn and when we'll be playing them. So out came Infantino again in his suit and white trainers. You're 54 years old, man. Get a grip of yourself. UEFA President Alexander Seferin looked like he'd been dug up and propped in front of a camera to say a couple of pre-recorded words. Clearly couldn't be bothered to make the effort to go to Zurich. But drafted into the draw was France's Robert Pires, Germany's Ariane Hinkst, Spain's Fernando Llorente, England's Rachel Yankee and Italy's Gianluca Zambrotta. 4 of those have won the World Cup at the highest level. One hasn't. I'll leave you to work out who that is. But the draw was made from 54 teams, all competing for one of 16 places. Now that is an increase of 3 from the Qatar finals of 2022. Now, first and foremost, England were in pot 1 alongside the usual suspects: Spain, Germany, Portugal, France, Italy, Netherlands, Denmark, Croatia, Belgium, Switzerland and Austria. So none of those could be drawn together. But it was Pires who pulled us out of the pot against the backdrop of the most annoying dramatic music. They swirled the balls around, lift their hands out in a robotic fashion to emphasise there was no foul play at work, and they'd plunge down to pull one out, inevitably getting flummoxed by the unscrewing of the balls to reveal that team name. But for the record, Wales were in pot 2, Scotland and both Irelands were in pot 3, so there was a chance that we could have drawn them. So Pires pulled us out towards the end of the first round into a 5-team group, Group K, which pretty much meant straight away that all this talk of a couple of USA friendlies that had been doing the rounds for the past couple of months were immediately quashed. That's not to say there will be no friendlies, as I'll touch on that in a bit. But here are the other nations that were pulled out throughout the draw to be our opponents. Serbia were pulled from pot 2. Serbia, of course, a nation we only met for the first time in the summer during the Euros. Jude Bellingham scoring the only goal in our opening group game in Gelsenkirchen. Previous to that, we've not played them before. Then came Albania from pot 3, a nation we've only met on 6 occasions before. And we've won 6 of those games. In fact, the last time we played them away, it was behind closed doors, as it was during the pandemic. Then came an interesting one. There were 3 teams left to be drawn from pot 4. Latvia, Faroe Islands and Armenia. 3 teams that England have never faced. So there was straight away going to be someone new, some new ground to break. We were dealt Latvia. And then finally from pot 5, Andorra. Similar to Albania, a team we faced on 6 occasions, winning all 6 of them. People have got this memory that we played them in Barcelona's Olympic Stadium, which of course we did, happened a couple of times. That was back in 2007, 2009. But we also played them at their home stadium in the Pyrenees in 2021. So no doubt that will be where we'll be playing once again. I think we can scrap the idea of playing in Barcelona. I've seen various people say it's a great draw, and also some say that it's maybe not so much. I think that with the fact there are a couple of nations that we've not played before, some new countries to visit, this looks a great draw to me. On the footballing front, if we happen to balls this up, then we've only got ourselves to blame, but Thomas Tuchel should be licking his lips at this group. Now, the one thing that will attract issue is the amount of tickets for away games. Only Serbia really have a stadium that will give a decent away allocation. The rest, well, they're all fairly small, meaning the away allocation diminishes. And whilst the supporters club try their best to get extra tickets, the draw of England for foreign fans is understandable. I think there's going to be a couple of occasions where even top cappers may end up being disappointed here. So, shortly after the draw that evening, the dates were announced for the games. We begin with 2 home matches in March. Albania on the 21st, followed by Latvia on the 24th. Moving into June, we travel to Andorra on the 7th. It's a Saturday. And at the moment, we don't have a second fixture. So you'd imagine that a friendly will be arranged for then. But this is the time of that World Club Cup tournament that FIFA announced and drew for recently. That's shortly after that game where we play Andorra. So, yeah, who knows what's going to happen around then. Similar scenario in September. On October, when we travel to Serbia on the 9th of September. No doubt there'll be a friendly scheduled for around then. And then in October, Latvia away on the 14th of October with no other fixture at the moment. Then finally, November, Serbia at home and Albania away Sunday the 16th. So we'll wait and see who and when those friendlies will be. But anyway, I promised about checking on the other confederations. Let's take a quick look at that now. As I'm sure you're aware, the 2026 World Cup is taking place across 3 nations for the first time. Canada, USA and Mexico. So as it stands, they are the only qualified nations. And as I said, UEFA are the last confederation to get underway. Well, qualification actually began back on the 7th of September 2023. And the South American Confederation, CONMEBOL, when that began. So far, they are up to match day 12 of 18. Basically, they have one big league of 10 teams playing each other home and away. The top 6 qualify, with 7th place going into an inter-confederation playoff, i.e. a game against another confederation team. At present, Argentina, the holders, are top of that league, followed by Uruguay. Brazil, they're actually 5th, but it would take a massive slump for them to fail. Of course, Brazil are the only nation to have competed in all 22 finals. Let's have a look at the Asian section, the AFC. 18 teams divided between 3 groups of 6. 10 match days. They've completed 6 of them as it stands at the moment, remaining 4 to be played next year. The top 2 automatically qualify, with places 3 and 4 from each group going into a 4th round, which goes on to a 5th round, which eventually finds a team to go forward to that inter-confederation playoff. Asia, as it stands at the moment, Iran and Uzbekistan are 1st and 2nd in Group A. South Korea and Iraq top Group B, and Japan and Australia are in pole position in Group C. Japan are yet to lose a game. So where should we go next? Africa, the CAF, CAF. I said that UEFA was the biggest confederation. Officially, it has 55 nations, but with Russia excluded, it's down to 54, which is actually the same as Africa, so I stand corrected there. Africa has 9 groups of 6 teams, of which the group winners qualify. Then there's a playoff stage where an extra 1 team will go ahead to one of those inter-confederation playoffs. Now, the vast majority of the teams have all played 4 matches, although there is an issue with Group E, where Eritrea withdrew before the qualification began. There is still a fair way to go, but at present, Egypt, Sudan, Rwanda, Cameroon, Morocco, the Ivory Coast, Algeria, Tunisia and Comoros are all top of their group. Maybe some unfamiliar names there with regards to World Cup history, but as I said, still a fair way to go, so plenty could change. Let's go back to the Americas and Central America in what is known as CONCACAF. Now, because the three hosts all come from that federation, there is only space for three more. At present, their qualifying consists of 6 groups of 5, so that's 30 teams fighting for 3 spots. Seems a little unfair, but so far they have all played twice. The top 2 in each group progress to the third round, so there's still a lot to play for. But at the moment, there are some familiar names knocking around at the top of the tables. Honduras, Costa Rica, Jamaica, although there are the likes of Curacao and Suriname also topping the tables. Oceania is the region that will probably provide the first qualified nation, as they are well into their groups at the moment. 11 teams are already through their first and second rounds and are basically at the semi-final stage, which takes place in March. New Caledonia face Tahiti and New Zealand play Fiji. The winners of each play each other for the one spot directly awarded to Oceania. The losing side, they go towards that intercontinental playoff. Now, I think that's all 7 confederations. As I said, plenty will change before the World Cup of 2026 gets underway, which incidentally is Thursday, the 11th of June, 2026. Date for your diary, the final is the 19th of July in New Jersey. Let's just hope that England have negotiated all the qualifications and found themselves in that final. As I said at the beginning, this is the last episode of the year for me. A year that, overall, our performances, well, they didn't bring us the trophy, did it? We gave it our best shot. Berlin in the summer. Spain, well, they were the better team. But I was proud to have been able to follow the team's journey there, all throughout, representing the country in my own way, alongside thousands of others. That going back and forth to Germany was amazing. Tiring, but amazing. Jude's goal, Ollie Watkins' goal. To experience those and try and share it with you on this podcast. I hope I've been able to do that. This is the 50th episode of the year. It's amazing when I look back at all the ones I've released. Ones on old managers, interim managers, incoming managers. We've done books, plays, Macedonian dogs too. I really hope Lexo is doing fine. I'd like to say a big thank you to all of you who have given up your time to be part of it, coming on, having a chat, sharing your stories and thoughts. And even more so, a massive thank you for those that have come back time and time again to listen to the podcast. It's really appreciated. I've got to say, just thank you once again. And also, I know I've mentioned it before, but thank you to all of you who have contributed to the Ko-fi account. Should you want to contribute to the monthly hosting of the show, just head to ko-fi.com/3 Lions Podcast, ko-fi.com/3 Lions Podcast. Anything you choose to give is gratefully received. Thank you. I will leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. Wish you a pleasant Christmas break, however you may celebrate it. Take it easy. Look out for each other. Take care. And I will be back soon in the new year. Hope you can join me for it. Until then, cheers.